Hey everyone, it's Vivi, and let's talk about the ReMind trailer, DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, a big chunk of the video will focus on the beginning cutscene with young Xehanort and the mysterious robed figure. As for the rest, it's gonna be more brief, alright? So, about Xehanort at the Keyblade Graveyard. Well, first thing I'd like to say, I have a feeling Nomura is retconning some things, okay? Oof, from where do I even begin? This is the scene that I find the most complex to understand. It might look basic to you at first glance, but I had a bit of difficulty understanding what's going on, and you'll know why. This appears to be a flashback scene, right? We can all agree. Years and years before Birth by Sleep. Apart from the basic, presumable fact, right? When exactly could this have taken place? What I mean by this is, he has silver eyes here. The same colored eyes he had in Scala at Kylum at the beginning of KH3. This appears to be before he came too much into contact with darkness, but was in the process. Notice his already pointy ears. Yes, at this point we can all agree, yellow eyes is, in fact, an influence of darkness. The whole scenario with Anti-Aqua. One ongoing debate, and here's my idea about this whole scenario. Yes, I do believe Xehanort we see in Scala at Kylum is an even younger version of Xehanort. Younger than the one we had in Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3. AKA the boy in black, the character files in Kingdom Hearts 3. Two things make me believe this. The boy in black does look shorter than young Xehanort. And two, Ben Diskin, the voice of young Xehanort, was told to give a younger voice for the character. I mean, reading this tweet from 2015, it says it right there, young Xehanort. Okay, you might say, Vivi, this is an old tweet, maybe that changed, but it doesn't seem to be the case. He still does sound younger, comparing, both voices from Dream Drop Distance and this. Well, that's just my opinion, of course, that's what it sounds like to me.
And so, darkness prevails, and light expires. You need a new strategy.
My move, isn't it?
And break you is what we shall do. It has been etched.
Some of you believe the game's engine, or Nomura's switching, designs, is the cause of him looking younger in Scala at Kylum. If we especially compare his model to his Dream Drop Distance version, or his render from KH3, even. To me, he looks younger in Scala. Maybe you thought they were supposed to be the same age, but the fact the VA portrayed an even younger voice? That to me makes it self-explanatory. I could be wrong though, okay? Maybe my ears are playing tricks on me or something, but yeah, I feel like there's a difference. So here's the problem. Before Kingdom Hearts 3, it was believed that young Xehanort's world of origin was Destiny Islands, right? How we had this scene at the beginning of Birth by Sleep, this world is just too small, he hates it, he wants to visit the outside worlds, or how young Riku mentions to Terra that a boy left the islands, assuming Xehanort, or here's another one, Report 10 in Birth by Sleep. Xehanort mentions taking Ven to his boyhood home, Destiny Islands. So with all that, we believed Ansem giving him the power to travel through time is what made him leave the islands for the very first time. But with Scala in the picture now, it seems Nomura is switching things up. Hey, it's entirely possible originally, mysterious figure aka young Xehanort with the ethereal blades, his physical traits, it was similar to like Terra or Ansem, we can say. That got changed. Or how he had yellow eyes in the 2015 trailer. That alone, folks, yellow to gray, that's a sign of retconning right there. And how Xehanort no longer mentions the tyranny of light. This was mentioned in his reports in Birth by Sleep. Instead of that, in Kingdom Hearts 3 we have him saying, too much light caused too much darkness. So what I'm getting at, folks? Yes, Destiny Islands must have been his homeworld, but then went to Scala at Kylum to train and become a Keyblade wielder. And then at some point in time went back to Destiny Islands, I guess, to just think back to his past, reminding himself that the world is indeed too small. Also, when he was on Destiny Islands saying that line, he had yellow eyes. Dream Drop Distance scene in the end. So this must have taken place after Scala. He went from silver eyes to yellow. Keep that in mind, okay? I'm gonna dive deeper soon. The fact Nomura gave him silver eyes, that alone makes me believe he wants to add more to his story. Fun fact, he did want to dive deeper into Xehanort's past, but the game would have taken longer. Well, this is according to the Ultimania. At first, I did want to use a next game to dig down into how Xehanort went from that simple boy playing the chess-like game to an admirer of the darkness. But if I do that, then the Darkseeker Chronicle wouldn't have ended with Kingdom Hearts 3 after all. Some ideas I had solidified, to a degree, but it's shelved for now. With that quote, folks, it appears there was much more to Xehanort's story. So here's my take on the whole situation. Young Xehanort, at a younger age than what was perceived prior to KH3, was taken or found Scala at Kylam, befriended Ericus, and went through Keyblade training to eventually go through the Mark of Mastery. They had a master, but we don't know who that master was. So with that, this new scene we get for ReMind, well, sometime after their game of chess, their master, who I believe is this robot figure, which I will talk about soon, sees more into this Xehanort character, decides to make him go through a world tour in a black coat. This being the first time he finds out about the robe, how it wards off the darkness. Technically, maybe not, I'll get to it. Here I don't think he had inherited No Name yet. Actually, this scene from the secret ending of Recoded, he was yet to get No Name. So basically, he gets No Name further into the future, like years and years after this scene in ReMind. Right now, this scene, he's still in training. He did have ethereal blades in Birth by Sleep, you know, the boss fight, which was completely broken. Remember that boss fight? Also, let's not forget in Dream Drop Distance, he didn't have a Keyblade until Old Man Xehanort showed up at the end of Dream Drop Distance. So him getting a Keyblade, it was years and years later. Now hold up. Let's not forget report number 2 from Kingdom Hearts 3. Let me read it. It's important. Until a few short years ago, I'd known only my own world. A speck of land surrounded by sea, but how I'd dreamed of, yearned for the world beyond, and, granted guidance from the future, I left that nest behind. As I treated the path to my master's side, I came into contact with darkness in many forms. I knew even then, as by instinct, terrifying as its power was, it could be harnessed. So taking into account report 2, Destiny Islands was in fact his homeworld. Also taking into account how he looked much younger in Scala, in my opinion of course, that's what I think, the yellow eyes prior to KH3, while some scenes that must have been retconned by Nomura. So what I'm thinking is, when he was given the power to time travel, he had silver eyes, and was older. He was from the back, we didn't see his eyes. But we did see his eyes at the end of Dream Drop Distance. So wait, Vivi, you're saying in this scene he was supposed to have silver eyes, but he has yellow eyes? Like, what is going on? Yes, I understand it is confusing, trust me. But just bear with me here, okay? We can say the yellow eyes we had in Dream Drop Distance, the whole time traveling thing, is simply young Xehanort being Norted by himself. When he returned to his original timeline, the yellow wore off because Old Man Xehanort's heart was no longer part of himself. He just went back to silver eyes. Can we assume that? And once that happened, he continued on with his training. Thus explains this scene and what he says. In an awful way, I just realized just how necessary I am. He doesn't remember time traveling, but some of it remained etched into his heart. Remember that line in Dream Drop Distance, folks. I mean, it could explain his line. In an awful way, why would he say that? Okay, Vivi, Report 2 makes it seem like Ansem was the reason he left Destiny Islands in the first place. So Vivi, I'm really confused. What's Scala all about, and why is he younger if he left Destiny Islands thanks to Ansem? Isn't he supposed to be younger in Destiny Islands? Like, what the heck? Not to mention that he looks older on Destiny Islands. He's not supposed to, you know, very confusing, I know. Yeah, I get the whole redesign of the character scenario, but really, Xehanort looked younger in Scala. Rounder face, wasn't as tall as his Dream Drop Distance counterpart, not to mention his younger sounding voice. So what Xehanort means by I left that nest behind, he's not saying I left Destiny Islands for the first time. It's more about him no longer willing to stay on Destiny Islands, hence him leaving it behind. Thanks to Ansem and the whole time traveling thing, he felt he had no purpose on Destiny Islands anymore, and thought he had a greater purpose, thanks to the remnants of memories remaining in his heart. I know it's a lot of information to process, so I'll give you guys a clean summary. Number 1. Young Xehanort originates from Destiny Islands. That we can agree. 2. A time comes where he's sent or finds Scala at Kylam to train there, to become a Keyblade Master. 3. He goes back to Destiny Islands for some reason, and encounters Ansem from the future and is gifted with the ability to time travel. 4. After Sora deals with, Xehanort and all that in Dream Drop Distance, he returns to his original timeline, forgets everything as per the rules of time travel. 5. After that happens, he resumes his training, wounds up at the Keyblade Graveyard eventually, where he re-experiences the Black Robe. Remember, when he was approached by Ansem, he didn't have a black robe. But he did get a black robe when time traveling. But, as I said, he forgot everything that happened. So the black robe in Dream Drop Distance, he forgot about it. So this scene in ReMind, he's re-experiencing it. 6. He feels he has an importance eventually, most likely due to the remnants etched into his heart. Or maybe he remembers the dialogue from Ansem. Remember, technically, if you time travel and come back, you forget the events about time traveling. But it's possible he did not forget the lines Ansem told him prior to time traveling. You understand where I'm getting at? I hope so. 7. With time, he gets closer to darkness, resulting in his yellow eyes. And you know he gets older. So basically, the yellow eyes we had prior to Kingdom Hearts 3 in some scenes, I personally think Nomura altered it. Plus, he didn't have his black robe here, as I said. And technically, he should have silver eyes here. If we go with all of the information I shared with you, he should have silver in this exact scene here. Honestly, if it weren't for report number 2, him saying that line, oh, in an awful way, yada yada yada, I take it would have been due to the chess game, him talking about how darkness will prevail and light expire. He would feel like, oh, I'm the one who's gonna play an important role in all this. In an awful way, get it? Oh, and a little extra. Him saying this world is just too small right at the end of Dream Drop Distance? It could perhaps be all of the memories etched into his heart. Like, yeah, this world is too small, I have a feeling I no longer have a purpose here. What do you think? I could be wrong on that part, but it's just something I wanted to add. Next character I'd like to discuss, the guy in the black robe. At first glance, I get it. I automatically, myself, stuck with the whole idea of the Master of Masters. Due to, of course, his mannerism, his hand gestures and all. But remember what Luxord said in report number 13? Let me read it. The Keyblade has been successfully passed down, generation to generation, and it seems a Keyblade master devoted to the darkness may finally arise. Until now, I have watched over the course of events from a distance. Perhaps the time has come to intervene. I need only play the role of a fool Desirous of the Keyblade's power. I will don the mask of his ally in order to keep watch over my Keyblade from close by. Let's go back to report number 2. Some days have passed since I set off on my journey to prepare for the Mark of Mastery examination. Ericus asked for leave to undertake the same pilgrimage, but apparently I am to be first to tour the worlds written off in the old fairy tales. First thing I want to get out of the way, the whole written off in the old fairy tales. Oh, this master must be the Master of Masters because he knows about the Book of Prophecies. But really, Luxord could have found out about the Book of Prophecies eventually. It's years and years we're talking about. So when Xehanort continues his training, or this time the Mark of Mastery, he's set on a world tour. I like how Nomura used the term world tour, you know, the orchestra and everything, I like it. The person he's talking to must be their master. I strongly believe it to be Luxord. He's starting to keep an eye on this young Xehanort character, who's becoming fond of the darkness. Look, Luxord and Master of Masters have a very similar mannerism. Okay, the Master of Masters is probably a bit more extra compared to Xigbar or Brig, Luxord, you know, but just with the reports and everything, I have a feeling this is Luxord. Or technically, Luxord in a different body, another vessel. Second to last vessel, perhaps? Brig was his last vessel according to reports. Plus, in one scene during their game of chess, No Name is still up on the wall. No Name was being watched by Luxord, don't forget. It was given to Luxord by the Master of Masters. One of his missions required him to keep an eye on it and pass it down through generations. If this were the Master of Masters, which honestly easily looks to be, well, how do you explain No Name up on the wall if he had given it to Luxord? Unless it's a prototype, cheap knockoff or something, but Plus, isn't Luxord still looking for the Master of Masters? His part 2 mission? But hey, if this is the Master of Masters, simply put it this way. This scene was years ago, long before Xigbar as the vessel, used by Luxord. So basically, Master of Masters did appear through time, for some reason, and met Xehanort. If so, then Mom, short for Master of Masters, was Ericus and Xehanort's master. But I doubt it. The whole scenario with Luxord's mission to pass down his Keyblade? Ugh, what do you think? Okay, if young Xehanort is going through darkness, training with Luxord, then what happened to Ericus? Well, apparently during this time, he was given his own mission. Most probably has something to do with the Land of Departure. This is a quote from Nomura from the 2.8 interview, a while back. But that being said, the aforementioned Keyblade, it's the same one that Master Xehanort holds in the future, right? Nomura, Yes, it's the very same one. Succeeding from Luxord, it's been passed down through time and is now held by Master Xehanort. So it can be considered that Master Xehanort is the legitimate successor of that Keyblade. Meanwhile, Master Ericus inherited control over the Land of Departure. So we can at least all agree that Ericus eventually was given the mission to be on the lookout, to take care of the Land of Departure. Alright guys, so that's basically part of the heavy segment of the theory video, I guess. I hope it didn't sound too far-fetched, okay? And I hope your heads are doing fine. I hope you did not get a headache from all of this information. I know it's a lot. So let's move on to the more basic brief part now. Okay, Playable Riku. Either this is a data type battle despite the same amount of HP, or we will have the choice to pick character. Play as Riku or Sora, you know, a prompt showing up. As for Aqua being playable, I take it this segment happens before Sora shows up to help. Cause you know, before Sora even shows up, these two, Aqua and Ven, were fighting Vanitas and Xehanort already. So this one we can easily explain it. Also, maybe Ven could be playable. You know, you reach this segment, a prompt on screen happens, want to play as Ven or Aqua, you decide. I could be wrong, but you know, that's my idea. As for the Sea Salt Trio, yes, Roxas is playable, folks. I'm sure a lot of you are happy. But one thing I don't get about this one, Lee replaces Sora. The thing that doesn't make sense is if this were actually part of the segment, Lee is not supposed to be fighting here. Going back to what Xion told Lee, to take a step back. So is this like a data fight or something? Or maybe they're planning on changing up the scenes? Make it so Lee joins the fight and Sora leaves? Cause Sora's supposed to be there, so what's going on? Next, Oathkeeper. The free DLC, this one. Remember, there's free DLC and paid DLC. I assume the paid DLC will be story and all that. You can find all the info over on KH Insider. Form change reminds us of Ultima Form and Second Form mixed together. My favorite second scene, or should I say my favorite one, the one that gave me the most amount of chills. Luxord becomes suspicious. I strongly believe this scene takes place right after Xigbar says, "May your heart be your guiding key." Remember how that line got cut at Mount Olympus? The scene with the Pete and Maleficent? We had Xigbar on top, eavesdropping. With those words, knowing that Luxord dates from the Union Cross era, that either triggered something in his mind or just got suspicious just like that. It could have triggered something. Remember when Kairi said, "Don't hold back, Lee, promise?" He saw a figure of Xion. So even words alone can trigger one's memories. He hears Xigbar say that line. He sneak attacks, I take it? I mean, he's holding a card. Once he leaves, Xigbar asks himself, the question is, who are you, Luxord? This is Luxu, guys. He remembers the past, obviously. He's seen 5 leaders, the new ones, move to a different world line, if you've read the reports. I feel Luxord has one big importance. I got a feeling he's the player from Union Cross. Listen up. Not because he controls cards and how originally Key, the browser game, had a card system in Japan. Nah, I'm not gonna base my conclusion off of that. It's just because Xigbar questions Luxord, as if he's seen Luxord in Union Cross and wonders, why are you so important? Like, who are you? Us, the player, could have been Luxord. Luxu did watch the war unravel, the beginning of 0.2. He could have seen the player being taken to a world line, because he did watch the 5 new Union leaders go to a new world line, so it's entirely possible he also saw the player getting saved. If not, then Luxord is just another character with no ties to player, which we are yet to see. But going back to this scene with Xemnas saying, oh, you guys have like an importance, we can all agree, Luxord, along with Larxene and, you know, the gang, they're from Union Cross. Fun fact, Luxord is Nomura's favorite organization member, hint hint maybe? He must have a greater importance, so him being the player, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. So as for the rest of the teaser, well, we get to the logo animation. There's one symbol that caught my attention. It looks to be a musical code known as the Coda. An oval with a plus sign on it. Means to skip and play the Coda. What in the world, Vivi, what are you talking about? Let me show you this, how this works. Bear with me here, okay? From my understanding, you play the whole line until you come to D.S al Coda, which stands for Dalsegno. Dalsegno being the $, and Dalsegno meaning from the sign. You go back to the S sign, play until the Coda, you know, being the first sign of Coda you see. And once you reach that part, you skip to Coda, well, play to Coda. So what is Nomura trying to tell us? It doesn't mean go back to the beginning. The sign itself, it doesn't mean that. DC and DS tells you to go back to the beginning or back to the S sign, but the sign itself represents an end section or to skip. This sign means play the coda. Farfetched may be okay, but could this be a Del Segno sign in the Keyblade graveyard? Is Nomura trying to hide the symbols in the game, telling, hey, we're eventually gonna go back to the Keyblade graveyard? He could be using D.S al Coda as, go back to this symbol, the Keyblade graveyard we see in ReMind. Probably doesn't make any sense. You're probably confused as heck, but what is Kingdom Hearts without confusion, folks, right? So with that being said, this is it for the video. If you listened to the whole thing, you're awesome. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. And about the whole continuity of Xehanort, the whole silver eyes, yellow eyes thing, maybe you have your own interpretation. I'd like to hear it. Alright, so do your stuff. I've been Vivi, and thank you for watching.